are we rolling, everybody?
Yes, rolling.
Okay, we are rolling. Okay. A very warm welcome to our Leaders of Tomorrow Vodcast, your go-to series for unfiltered stories from entrepreneurs shaping the future. I'm Ritwika Gupta, and my guest today is someone who is extremely well known as the go-to nutritionist and fitness expert for a lot of celebrities here in India. Dr. Siddhant Bhargava, he's the founder of Food Darzee and Innergize, two brands dedicated to transforming physical and mental health. In this episode, Dr. Siddhant dives into the opportunities in India's booming wellness market. Listen in. Dr. Siddhant, welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow Vodcast. It's a pleasure. I know you have a very, very hectic schedule. You're managing a lot of people, your two businesses, so we're going to talk all about that. But before we get to your business side of the things, I want to know a little bit about you, your background, before you became an entrepreneur.
Sure.
Tell me, you have studied medicine. Was that the obvious choice given you come from a family of doctors, or did you want to do something else?
I think it was the obvious choice, but that is what I wanted to do. I've seen my dad growing up, my granddad growing up, and I think becoming a doctor was what I wanted to do. So I think life's trajectory was also like that. Like, we knew that you need to get a certain amount of marks in 10th and then in 12th, and then you give your entrance and then you get into college. So all of that was pretty sorted. But somewhere along the road in medicine, I realized that maybe just seeing one patient at a time is not going to be enough.
Right.
And you want to help a larger cause, you want to do bigger things, and that's how I moved out of medicine. So technically I finished my MBBS in 2017.
Okay.
And the day I finished my exams, the next day I started Food Darzee.
Yeah, and that's my next question. Like, so what inspired you to start Food Darzee? You know, because I think you also came at a time when there were not too many. I mean, when you talk about food subscription models, the first thing I think about is that traditionally different services, right? But here, these are healthy food services.
Absolutely.
And on a subscription. I mean, how did you think of that? What was the idea?
The idea was very simple, that people want to lose weight, but the major concern behind losing weight is not the actual diet, it's the ability to follow the diet. So we realized that if you want to make things healthy, they can't be healthy for just one meal. Like, you can't suddenly get up and say, Wednesday morning I'm going to eat a healthy lunch. That's not how you're going to lose weight or get healthy. It needs to be continuous. So we said, okay, it needs to be healthy. It needs to be calorie counted because it needs to create a result. It needs to be every day because that's the only way you make sure. And there needs to be guidance so that people can actually draw value out of the entire program. So keeping all of these things in mind, we realized, let's make a subscription service. Plus, there were no subscription services at that point in time. Like, even things like Netflix and Amazon Prime were fairly new to India. So subscription, the word was very, very tabooed. And every mentor of ours told us that your subscription model can't work. So somehow we made it work, and even today, if you look at subscription models in food, we're still the largest one of them.
Yeah,
like,
there's
it's
still
been
not too
8
many.
years and there aren't too many, because people come, people go, because it's a very difficult business model to sustain. It's very, very operation heavy. It's very, very asset heavy. It's too many people, and unfortunately, you have to get your product right every single day. That is a challenge.
Sure. So do you think it was more of the product and idea, or do you think it was also like an early mover advantage in this space?
It was both. The early mover advantage obviously helped because we started with keto meals and we got onto the keto bandwagon very, very early on. In fact, I believe we set the entire keto bandwagon. That got us initially a lot of users. We got featured in a couple of interesting spots. That got us a lot of users. And then we realized that keto is not sustainable. So let's branch out into normal meals, high protein meals, etc. So then we kept cross-selling to our existing user base. We were first movers, so for a good 18 months, 24 months almost, there was nobody in the market. Everybody heard about Food Darzee, or celebrities are using it. So I think we got successful pretty soon. After that, I think the real struggle started, because it wasn't just a small company anymore. It became big, your processes became complex, and getting the product right every single day is a very big challenge.
Right.
You're giving them 4 meals a day, you're giving them different food every day, you're giving them a nutrition service, you're trying to take care of their weight loss, you're managing your logistics on your own because you're not Swiggy or Zomato. You have your own central kitchens and you need to get food from one spot to another in an hour and a half.
Right.
So everything had to be right every single day, and people started judging us very, very severely because it's food. You have to go to office at 9 o'clock in the morning. If your food is late, maybe once, 9, 5, theek hai. But if every single day it becomes 9-5, you're going to get very, very annoyed.
That's right.
So getting the product right every single day has been by far our biggest challenge, and that's what we try and optimize even today.
Yeah, no, in fact, just picking up from there, when it comes to food and diet, it's very personal, right?
Yes.
Like traditionally you would go to a dietitian if you want to like say lose weight or make some changes to your diet. How did you like convince your customers that this is like, how did you build trust with them, like this is something that they can also take on?
Very early on, we didn't hire any employees for handling customer service or nutrition. I used to do it myself because it's very important to have your ear on the ground with respect to what your customer actually wants, what his pain points are, what are the questions he's asking, so you can optimize your product based on that. Because you have a very skewed vision of what your product is. You believe what you've made is going to be right for everyone, but that's never the case. You have to take feedback. So I think that was a very big trust building factor, that one of the co-founders is handling every single client. And I'm a people's person, like it always comes naturally to me. So maybe for the first 200 users that we had, I was the only point of contact for them. So I have a very strong understanding of what these 200 people have liked, not liked, expect, and where we've completely, overshot our expectations. So that was very important. Once that started happening, the word of mouth started spreading, and the word of mouth spread like wildfire, because it was the first time in the country that you have a service who's claiming that they can create weight loss, who's got a good person to talk to who really knows what he's doing. And I wouldn't show my face at that point in time because I was 22, and it was very difficult for anyone to take me seriously because I used to look like a child. So I used to hide my face, only speak over calls, and dhire dhire I think the trust started building. And once the trust was built, then we had a huge surge in followers. I remember we had this one BuzzFeed story that came out about us that said these guys follow the Tanmay Bhatt diet for 30 days. That video got us crazy views. We were pretty early on in terms of performance marketing. We realized what a user wants to do, and our main metric was user retention on the video. So we used to make videos that used to run as ads, which is now, ab jaise videos hote hain, it's 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 40 seconds. We had videos that were about 1 minute 50 seconds, 1 minute 60 seconds, and we had like a 55-60% average watch time on those. So getting these metrics right kept helping us scale, and before we knew it, we had turned into a pretty fairly large brand.
Right.
And then the pressure was on us to get the product right every single day.
And you did. But tell me, when you first started out, what was the ideal customer for Food Darzee back in 2017? Like who was your TG, and how has that perhaps evolved? And who's the customer in 2025? Is there a change?
So now our initial TG back in 2017 was, I would say, a rich person. And I do use the word rich very loosely because 8 years ago, paying 30,000 rupees for a subscription was unheard of. Like today, once we have so many users, we've realized that people's spending habits have changed, disposable income has gone up, and they're trying to spend more on health and wellness. Back then, it was a rich user. So say take the city of Bombay, a person living between Juhu and Bandra, or a person living in Malabar Hills, that was our ideal customer. Now, once this service became a weight loss service, then you had two values to draw from it. It wasn't just about paying for food, it was paying for weight loss.
Sure.
And then our customers started changing. Then it became a corporate professional, a housewife, an 18-year-old who's trying to lose weight, somebody who's just been diagnosed with diabetes, a person who can't lose weight because they've got thyroid or PCOS.
Sure.
So that started becoming our customer. And today what our customer is anybody who wants healthy food conveniently twice a day at their doorstep. That's
right.
become our customer, because now we've got multiple variants of the price point.
But correct me if I'm wrong, is it right to say that perhaps the younger demographics, would be more open to trying out something new? Because traditionally, the older generation, they would prefer your ghar ka khana, right? So why would they subscribe? So was there a challenge to get them on board as well?
So I think once news spread that we're a result-oriented company, I think that changed completely, because think about it, the younger generation will have lesser health complications than the older generation.
Sure.
So people who were in their 40s, 50s wanted to lose those 5 kgs, wanted to get their cholesterol in line. So that, it was a very, I wouldn't say a sudden shift, but as word of mouth started spreading, our target audience kept expanding on its own, because everybody kept finding use cases for themselves in a product that we could customize, because that's how modular we had made it.
Sure. How much do you think people in India really understand the importance of nutrition today?
I have a very simple perspective. Everybody inherently already knows what is good and what is bad. They just don't like doing what is good. That's the problem. Everyone knows that consuming 10 spoons of sugar in a day is bad. Everyone knows that consuming 20 spoons of oil in a day is bad. Everyone knows it. But why do you still go back and keep doing those things? Because it's very difficult to change as a habit.
Right.
I mean, will you find food tastier which is fried in oil, or will you find food tastier which is completely steamed and boiled? The answer is very clear, because that's the inherent property of fat. In school we were taught fat is a substance added to food to increase its palatability. That's the definition of fat. So without fat, food can't be as palatable as with fat.
True.
That is the problem. Everyone knows what to do. So now you need to find a way for them to be able to follow this at length. That's the only way they can see a result. And how do you get them to do that? Try making the tastiest possible variations of food that they already like, and then you control it at your back end, keeping in mind what you want to serve to them as nutrition. That's part one. Part two, I think people have very skewed understandings of nutrition. Like, they know their basics, but they're not trying to do their basics because they find the basics too hard. So I have this thing, right? Losing weight is simple, but it's not easy. Because the concepts are very simple, but getting to do them is super difficult. So their views on basics have become very skewed. They keep trying to find these tangential profiles of how nutrition could help them, and they just complicate it for themselves. For example, so many people say, you know, I drink hot water with cinnamon and black pepper in the morning, and then I do this and then I do that. Yeah. But through the day they're eating their samosas and vada pavs and what God knows what. It's very skewed, right? Because they believe that they're doing something good for their health, but they're not. And this same person already knows what is bad and what is good. So I don't think it's a knowledge issue or a skill issue. It's just a mindset issue. And that is why people till eternity are going to remain unhealthy, because it's a mindset issue. How do you get people to put health as a number one priority when you're struggling to make ends meet? Health will never be a number one priority unless you have a health problem. And for you to have this foresight is very difficult. You're too busy with life. So
True.
Health is always going to be booming till people turn into robots, essentially.
Right. Now, so you have an idea and you definitely understand the market. What was the next step, like, in the sense, how did you scale Food Darzee to what it is today?
So I think acquiring customers has always been tough. When I say tough, it's because what Food Darzee became as a service, it became very result oriented, very goal oriented. So now people would come onto the plan. Once they've met their expectations, they're out of the plan. How do you cross-sell to a person who's happy with your service but doesn't want to do more? That's the challenge. Like, say Swiggy, a person on average orders between 4 and 6 times on Swiggy. That's the average amount of times an individual orders from outside. Now imagine having 4 meals a day, 30 days a month from outside. Nobody wants to actually do that. If you've got family at home, if you've got a cook at home, you don't want to keep eating from outside. If you have no alternative, then you do want to keep eating Food Darzee. So our churn rate was pretty high. Because of that, you have to keep acquiring customers at scale. Like, days when you don't acquire customers, you feel that cash flow is going to get affected. And that's why it was a very high pressure business to be in. Once your word of mouth starts stepping up, of course your marketing cost can come down, but because your churn rate is so high, your marketing cost can't actually reduce. You have to keep acquiring customers. Right. That is one difficult part of being in a business like Food Darzee.
Right. Now, health, gut, wellness, it has become a hot topic in today's landscape, right? And is that the reason why you also started a mental health
Absolutely.
business?
See, mental health has always been very close to my heart. I've suffered through my own set of mental health issues because of my set of physical health issues. People do not understand the symptoms of stress. That's a problem. For example, feeling lethargic all day, feeling tired without having done too much, having mood swings, feeling overwhelmed, like constantly thinking about the future without having any real reason to do so. All of these are signs of stress. People have been dismissing these signs of stress as life. They think this is life, this is how life is supposed to be. Now, unfortunately, I'll explain to you how stress is actually working in today's world, and this is pretty cool. Your body knows how to manage stress. A certain amount of stress is good for the body, otherwise the body will never know when to respond. You need to be incited a little bit by stress to be able to perform at your peak. And this exists for everything.
Right, but I hear you, but mental health, it's still, I would say, a taboo, to a topic to talk about.
It is. Because it's viewed as weakness.
Yeah, and what I mean to ask is that how did you look at it as a business opportunity? How do you think that, especially for entrepreneurs who are watching this as well, right? How can they actually capitalize on the health wellness market as well, and identify like this is something you can actually not only, help people with, but also turn it into a business?
Okay, so what I identified was that the problem of stress is global. And whenever I spoke to someone about stress, people acknowledge it that, yeah, my life is stressful, this, that, but they don't have solutions for it. When I put forth the solution that, you should go visit a therapist, nah, that was the insight. Then I realized that this is one industry which has had no tech disruptions. If you look at medtech, and medtech is really picking up across the globe, India medtech is picking up. Unfortunately, India doesn't make too many medtech startups because the environment is not very conducive, and now I can see it firsthand because I've dabbled a little bit with diabetes in medtech, and now I'm dabbling with mental health.
Yeah.
People don't trust Indian medtech startups. They make it very difficult to raise money.
Why is that so, you think?
Because the gratification is very delayed. The gestation period of research is so long that people don't want to put in their money and not get a result for the next 10 years. That's reason number one. Two, I don't think technology or engineering in India has completely evolved in terms of medtech. Of course, see, people who are doing it are doing it. But in general, the entire engineering community hasn't really evolved for medtech. So money is not easy. Of course, the government is making it easy. There are a lot of biotechnology grants. So you could probably raise about 2.5 crores within the first 2 years of operations of your business in your research phase without diluting equity. Because your grants give you that money. But beyond that, nothing. Like nobody, okay, young entrepreneurs, I'm 30 now, so I have the understanding, but people who are 20, 21, they feel very happy with this 2 crore grant and they think, मेरी company बन जाएगी. The problem is you cannot make a medtech company in 2 crores.
So then what do they do? Whose doors do they knock on?
They scamper. They scamper around, and that's when they end up diluting so much of their company. Like I've had to fight so much right now to keep my dilution under general limits, even after raising the second round right now, because you cannot expect crazy valuations without proof of concept. To achieve proof of concept, you need to build hardware, firmware, software. To be able to do that, you need money, and 2 crores is not enough. That's the reality.
Right. What is the VC sentiment like in this space though? Okay,
the VC sentiment is, I think it's divided. Number one, if you're a second, third time founder, trust builds up. It becomes easier to knock on the doors and have them open them and hear you out. If you're a first time founder, getting into a VC's door is next to impossible. I saw it this time, right? Because I joined Innergize a couple of months after the team came together, and I told them, you know what, you all try and raise a little money up front. And it was very difficult because how do you get yourself in the door? So VCs are out for most people, actually. You need a warm introduction to be taken seriously, and that's the reality.
Sure. And in terms of money, like are there like banking solutions, etc., that new entrepreneurs can also like leverage?
I mean, yes and no. It's not that easy. I mean, taking a loan, for example, like raising debt, I don't think is the good way to go in terms of medtech, because you don't know whether you're going to make the product. That's the problem. Like you never know where the technology evolves. You should get in equity money, because with that you're going to get a lot of mentorship as well. I realized this very late because this is the first time I'm also raising money.
Yeah.
That a VC does not give you money on a finished product always. They give money whether your work in progress is going to lead somewhere, whether your metrics are defined, and whether you're meeting your metrics every 3 months, every 6 months, whether you're de-risking certain metrics to create a better business.
And what would you say are some of these metrics that you need to,
if you talk about technology, whether your technology works in a clinical condition, say this was what you proved and you went to a VC, he's going to give you money. If you go to him and say that this technology works anecdotally, he might not give you money. But after meeting him anecdotally, 3 months later, if you met him and it works in a clinical condition and anecdotally also, he's going to give you money. So he's also trying to de-risk his investment, right? He wants to hear more metrics that can give him the confidence to be able to invest money. So you need to approach that smartly. Don't go with them with just a dream. The dream is very important, but have very clear metrics defined. This is what I've done. This is what I've done in so much money. This is what I'm going to do in the next 3 months. This is what I need your money for, and this is what I'm going to prove for you. If you like my story, invest in me.
Tell me a little bit about Innergize. What are the offerings? It's your new baby. What can people expect, when they sign up with you at Innergize?
Innergize is the world's first mental health wearable. It's pretty clear. If you look at any of these wearables, and I'm wearing a couple of them right now, all they do is give you insights. None of these insights are actionable.
This is a ring?
This is an Aura ring.
This is a ring, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
What it tells me is, you slept less today, tomorrow sleep 1 hour extra. How do I do it? If I have work, how do I sleep 1 hour extra? You're seeming very stressed today, take a walk. Great, I can't take a walk, what do I do? Where do I get the answer to the diagnostics you're giving me? That's what Innergize is doing for you. It's actually the world's first companion for your brain that gives you the ability to relax on demand.
All right. Okay. So, Dr. Siddhant, you are running two different businesses, Food Darzee, Innergize, and you're also, you have your own practice as well. Tell me, what is the hardest part of being an entrepreneur that no one really talks about?
I knew that I'm one of the first doctor influencers on Instagram. I scaled up quite a bit. Of course, I've not been focusing on that for a while now, but I scaled that up. I realized that money can be made from there as well. I said, why not get more doctors to do the same thing and make money from them and take a percentage off of that. So very early on, I set up this company called Frontbenchers Marketing, which is the only doctor only or wellness only focused talent management service. Again, I'm a promoter there. I'm not operational. I'm not an operator there. But it was very strategic because one, I made money through my own Instagram. I made money through the doctors' Instagrams, and I created a network of doctors who trust me, who are my friends, who I've made money for, and whatever product I launch next, they're already a part of it. So my initial GTM is very simple because I have 20 doctors with 70 million impressions per month on Instagram or on YouTube who are going to start talking about my product straight up. So very strategically, I knew I had to build something like this. I had to manage that. Secondly, I have to do content because, take it or not, that's the distribution channel. Like if I was not doing content, I probably would not be here. Another founder of another startup could have been here, but the reason you chose me to be here is because I am probably more popular than some other founder. So having your own personal brand sorted is very, very important. That is the toughest to manage, to be honest, because when you say you're running Innergize, you've got a team, you've got people to think with you. Yahan pe the stress that you have to take is every single day. With every post that you put out, you have to deal with the nonsense of whether it's going to do well or no.
Right.
That is the most stressful part about my day, trying to get my content sorted, and that's what I've been struggling with also, very honestly, because the audience that I've built views me only for putting out health content. Whenever I put out content which is not health content, doesn't do that well. So what have I built this distribution for? So trying to hack social media is difficult, and I don't think I've achieved it yet, but that is the most difficult part of my day.
Was having a social media presence, was that always a strategy that you went for, or
Yes.
did it just happen organically?
No, it was always a strategy that I went for, because back then it was more about being a little more popular, trying to get clients for Food Darzee through social media. But it became completely something different. I started having a personality of my own, and I realized that what I say has authority. And then I banked on that. I was like, yes, I make health and nutrition content, but for whatever reason there is in the way I talk or the information I give out, I still haven't cracked it. But I somehow have more authority than another creator does. Sure. Now, why should I not use this to my advantage? And then it clubs up with the fact that I already run Food Darzee. It's already known by a lot of people, a lot of celebrities. And that bubble that got created was very conducive to business.
Do you think entrepreneurs need to have a voice today, like
They
a
have
social
to.
media presence?
100%. And every entrepreneur is trying to start their own personal brands, right? Because people are not connecting with legacy companies anymore because they don't view them as relatable anymore. But when a brand has a voice, people can resonate with that voice and use the products of that brand. Sure. That way you can get, okay, so your cost of acquisition can also go down on your brand pages if the founder has a very strong personal brand. I'm not saying all of your distribution can come from the founder. Yeah. It can't be that, because then it's unsustainable again. But your blended CAC will always come down if your founder has a voice and people can relate to the story.
But that can also be like a double-edged sword, right? Because if the founder says something or does something that is, perceived as not accurate or, not ethical, then it can definitely have
Absolutely. I mean, you have to take the pros and cons together, and the founder has to be cognizant of what he or she is saying. But it's beautiful to have a founder with a personal brand. It might not drive sales directly, but the voice that you can give to a brand from the outside is very, very important, because that can resonate with people, and that resonation can help with word of mouth. Because if you're always stuck in the rut that I need to pump in money to get customers, you will always keep your marketing spends a certain percentage of your sales, and then it'll keep digging into your profits. How does when you're in the growth stage, no VC cares about it. In the growth stage, your CAC is 50% of your revenue, it's fine. Who cares? It's fine. But when you're past that, wahan pe your metrics have to clearly improve. Like your word of mouth and your PMF have to come in. People need to love your product to get your marketing costs down, and that's the only way you can turn profitable. Aur koi tarika hi nahi hai. So any avenue you can create to get your CAC down, whether it's having a founder profile, whether your LinkedIn is doing very well, whatever it is, it needs to work for you to get your CAC down. That's the only reason why everyone should have a personal brand of their own.
But which role do you identify yourself with the most? A creator, entrepreneur, doctor? How do you see yourself?
I don't know actually, because it's interesting for me to work in different roles because it keeps my mind engaged. It's very difficult for me to focus, and I'm a very anxious person. Of course, I mask it very, very well, but I'm a very anxious person and my focus is always bhatkoing from here and there. I love having different things to do because if one is not going well, I can switch to the other and always come back.
Yeah.
What I view myself today is a salesman. That's all I think of myself right now. And I need to be this salesman in every avenue that I'm working. Whether I'm selling to my investors, whether I'm selling to my customers, whether I'm selling to my team, whether I'm selling to my co-founders, whether I'm selling to my users on Instagram who are looking at my personal brand, I'm a salesman. And if you can identify and be proud of being a salesman, every avenue feels one.
Right. So then what is your strategy of selling Innergize to consumers? And is the TG again similar to how it was in Food Darzee, rich people?
It's now no. So now here's the beauty. I'm launching the product today, in fact, and we're launching it at 5,000 rupees. And now this 5,000 rupees is for a module that's going to last you 2 years. So if you look at it, if something can make you stress less, sleep better, feel calmer, not feel anxious, are you not willing to spend 5,000 rupees if your disposable income allows you to shop from Zara or H&M? And that's a huge audience. An average college student, I'd want a college student to start saving up money to buy Innergize. I'd want an early person who's just dealing with stress to be able to think twice and buy Innergize. I want people like us to not even think twice and buy Innergize. That is how we want to market to these audiences, and this is what we keep in mind when marketing to them. I know a college student will save money for it. Right. I know a 21, 22-year-old will think 2 or 3 times before buying it. I know a 30-year-old will not think 2 times before buying it. You like it, you buy it. And I know a 45 or a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old will have to be convinced about the science because they're more uncertain in terms of trusting a technology for mental health. So इसी हिसाब से market करना यही मेरा TG होगा.
And what is the future? Like, how do you see this evolving and, expanding to the global market? You mentioned this is not just for the Indian market, right? So what's the future
I want to
looking
be in the Gulf and Southeast Asia by the end of 2025. I need to raise a large round in about 7 months from today. I'm aiming pretty high on my pre-orders that come in over the next 3 months. I know I need to apply for my FD approvals, for my CE approvals, my CDSU approvals are done.
Right, and as we wrap up, I have 2 questions. Actually, it's a single question, but in 2 parts. Tell me then, what would your advice be for entrepreneurs who are looking to, enter the wellness space or nutrition space for that matter?
For someone who's trying to get into wellness right now, you need to spend a lot of time doing your research as to what your product needs to be. Don't just think that because something is selling, it might sell for you. You'll have to create differentiators because it's getting more and more difficult. A lot of wellness products are becoming commodities and it's turning into a marketing game. Now, if you're a first-time founder, do you have the capability of raising that much money to turn it into a marketing war? Maybe not. So look for innovation, and that's always been the crux. Look for innovation when getting into the space. 2, there are a lot of boring businesses in the wellness space that you can get into which don't have that much competition.
Boring businesses?
Services. They don't need to appear cool from the outside. Don't get into neurotech, don't do medtech. If you just got your services right, this is a great time to enter services businesses in wellness because people are finally allocating a certain percentage of their disposable income towards wellness. Because the fear of dying and moreover the fear of having to live the last 10 years of your life in a crippled state is increasing because today's youngsters are finally seeing their parents and grandparents grow old. This is the first time they are seeing disease-ridden parents and grandparents grow old because the world is becoming tougher to live in.
It is.
So services business is going to be great if you want to get into. You can make great margins. You can have great user recommendations, but again, you have to get your product right all the time. So easy kuch bhi nahi hai. You need to know your product in and out. They do not expect you to know what you're going to do 10 years from today. But they expect you to acknowledge that you're thinking actively what you'll do 10 years from today. They don't need answers to everything. They need you to know your subject and they're there to help. Like if I talk about Antler, I love Antler because their team sits with me. They told me, you know what, we need your 3, 6, 9, 12 month goals. Yeah. I wrote my goals. They said, now sit with me and flesh these goals out. Tell me why these goals are your goals. Let's break these goals down into micro goals and I will keep you accountable to meet these micro goals. That's great, right? Because I'm the CEO of this brand. I'm working with kids who are brilliant, but they don't come with that set of experience. So I also need someone to brainstorm with me when it comes to leading a company. Antler's doing that for me. My impression about a VC was always कि पैसा दे देंगे उसके बाद में टाटा bye bye. It's not like that. So choose your VCs. There are good VCs. Go out, meet other founders, pitch your ideas to other founders. Founders will introduce you to their VCs. But if you sit in a cocoon, just keep making your own product, you might not be able to get out of that cocoon. Talk to people, take help.
This is also about relationships.
Very much about relationships, and ask help. See, entrepreneurs are full of themselves. Any given opportunity they get where they can have a situation where you owe them one, they will do it for you. So whether it's for their selfish needs also, ask for help and you will get help.
Touche, absolutely. I think we are ending on a very high note. I think it was lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this fantastic conversation, Siddhant. It was lovely having you here.
Thank you so much. It was great. I'm so happy that this is the first platform that I'm going to be talking about Innergize.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited. You're a wonderful host and hopefully we do this again.
All the very best for
Thank you
Innergize,
so
and I'm
much.
sure we'll do this again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before we wrap up today's episode, here's a quick look at our LOT cheat sheet, a quick rundown of the top takeaways from today's episode. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Leaders of Tomorrow Vodcast. A very big thanks to Dr. Siddhant for sharing his incredible journey. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations, and don't forget to hit follow, share this episode, and keep chasing those dreams. Thank you for watching. Till next time. Bye-bye.